So the whole point of comparing a number of auto ID devices within the selection environment is to actually come out with some prominent auto ID trends. Now there's no hard and fast rule about why one device would be chosen over another. For example, one stakeholder in the auto ID industry may say that barcodes are better than RFID devices for a given application, more suitable to a particular industry sector, for instance, perhaps more suitable in a closed versus an open system environment, perhaps more suitable to human applications rather than animal applications, or applications which entail non-living things. Now, a cross-case comparison, as I have done in the case studies for those 5 technologies with those 5 embedded cases of electronic commerce applications, is that it shows up these auto ID trends. And there are perhaps 3 major trends that I'd want you to consider that are being played out in the auto ID industry. The first is the trend of migration, the second of integration, and the third of convergence. These are in the actual devices themselves. There is evidence that is showing that there is a trend moving from barcode to RFID tags and transponders. In many cases that's because the RFID tags and transponders are updatable, they can store more information, they last longer, and they have some very fantastic RF data capture devices to go with them. Barcodes, for example, are limited to the size of the actual barcode, have printing issues, sometimes run over or can be overwritten, cannot be updated, are not active, they're dumb codes and so forth. Even we're looking at the Gillette company now moving towards RFID tags and other prominent global players. There's also a migration path from magnetic stripe to smart card, and a lot of you will even have seen this in your local banks across the globe from whichever country you're from. Potentially you could be from a European country which began with smart card, for example in France, but in most of the other Western nations such as Australia, the UK and the United States, we've been using magnetic stripe now for some time, and what we're finding is that we are struggling to migrate to smart card. There is a prominent trend towards smart card, but what we are finding is that we have these hybrid cards as we transition from magnetic stripe to smart card. In terms of integration, what we can see, and this was quite clear in the above example of, let's just go back to that previous slide, of the government citizen cards, is that the citizen card will almost have every auto ID device that you can imagine on it. Things like your fingerprints, a smart card, a magnetic stripe at the back. The card will also be embossed, and a whole gambit of things. So we're looking at the rise of multi-technology cards. In one sense, as we tried to migrate from one card type to another, during that transitional phase we've been stuck in hybrid schemes which are permanent, not just temporary solutions. So the rise of multi-technology cards is pushing this trend of integration forward. It's to have one card or one type of device with several techniques on it. Thirdly, we have this notion of convergence, and as Yofi points out, there can be convergence in substitutes and complements. If we have a look at the contactless smart card, it's really a fusion, okay, of the traditional smart card device, but it's based on RFID principles. So you have this coming together of smart card and RFID to form a contactless card. You also have biometric templates now that can be stored on barcodes, magnetic stripe or smart cards. So this notion of convergence is actually occurring within the industry as well. So here you have all these techniques which have been growing and emerging since the 1970s, and all of a sudden we're hitting a point now at the turn of the 21st century that indicates that there are these trends happening from migration, integration and convergence. So this notion of whether several technologies will coexist together is being solidified as we speak. And the cross-case comparison actually allows us to see these trends in the industry.